Ghost of Yotei is available Thursday. Let's go! Goals! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Goals! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Oh my God! You're a fembot!
Microaggression, cultural appropriation, offensive.
What is up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the hilariously heinous Dr. Disaster, and D-Day is almost upon us. The release of Ghost of Yotei is tomorrow.
Whoop-de-doo!
It's amazing when you think about it how hard Sucker Punch almost had to try to poison the well against their own game and get to this point where so many people just aren't interested in the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima. Jin Sakai was an instantly beloved character in the video game spaces who deserved a continuation of his story, but instead of that, Sucker Punch went with Ghost of Yotei and decided to push the whole girl boss thing in their next game by swapping in a new character who was a woman.
That's a woman?
Yeah, Erika Ishii doesn't seem like much of a woman, does she? She's part of the they-them crowd. Here she is as the model for Mrs. Freeze in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And here she is as the gender-swapped version of Sector in Mortal Kombat 1, and here she is in the pansexual game Date Everything. Erika Ishii is the sort of person who chooses to work on the wokest of projects. She despises anyone who doesn't think like her, and I have no intention of supporting someone like they.
They? Who in the hell is they?
I already planned to avoid Ghost of Yotei even before this shit here happened, where a Sucker Punch employee was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. They fired her for it on the down low, refusing to condemn the violence publicly, and as a response, their trailers for the game all this past month have been inundated with people shitting all over the game, asking for them to condemn political violence. Naturally, though, the journalist shills are pushing this PlayStation game as hard as they can, and the bots are out in full force as I showed you at the beginning of this video, but data from retail stores suggest that the marketing campaign for Ghost of Yotei has not been particularly effective, as I will show you in a minute here. Sucker Punch seems incapable of drawing a large segment of their now former fans back into the fold.
Love me!
I did.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already. We have gathered up a bunch of new space pirates into our crew, so it is time once again to ask the following question.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
We are currently sitting at 160,000 a-holes in this space pirate crew, and as is the custom on this channel, with every 1,000 subscribers, I add a new ship to the fleet in order to house the newcomers. This time, one of you guys dropped a super chat and suggested the egg carrier from Sonic the Hedgehog, but that was already in the fleet, so I took the liberty of adding this guy right here, the blue Typhoon, used by Sonic himself from the same universe. If any of you have recommendations for future ships, drop them into the comment section and I will add them to my long list. Super chats get bumped to the top of that list, and also, for your reference, I'm adding an alphabetical list of the ships already in the fleet to the description of the video, but in any case, thanks to everyone for being here, it really means a lot.
I knew it, I'm surrounded by assholes.
Anyhow, let's take a look at the sales data that I'm seeing from the retail stores for Ghost of Yotei pre-orders. For anyone who isn't aware, I used to own my own gaming store where we sold video games, and I still have contact with people who collectively run nearly 50 stores among them, and they often give me pre-order data on games that are coming out soon in an effort to track how well a game is selling compared to its contemporaries. Using their data, last year I was able to predict the flops of Star Wars Outlaws and Dragon Age the Veilguard, despite all the game journalists who were shilling hard for the game and telling us that these were going to be massive hits. I was also able to predict that games like Space Marine 2 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 would end up selling extremely well. With all that in mind, last week we looked at the numbers for Ghost of Yotei, and its pre-order figures were tracking behind Dragon Age the Veilguard. With a week to go before the release of Yotei, that game had 71 pre-orders in these nearly 50 stores, whereas Dragon Age the Veilguard had 75 pre-orders when it was a week out from its release last year. However, Ghost of Yotei had been hurt by all of the controversy surrounding Sucker Punch quite clearly, because these stores reported that they had 27 refunded pre-orders for the game, which had sharply cut into their sales. They would have been pretty well ahead of Dragon Age without those cancellations. That being said, they were trending well behind the likes of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 when that game was a week away from its release earlier this year. Even though it was plagued with its own controversies, they had sold 220 pre-orders in those same stores. But with all of that said, this week there does seem to be some strong action for Ghost of Yotei, though nowhere near enough to make me believe that they are going to perform as well as they want. The game has now sold 99 pre-orders just a day away from its release, meaning that it has outperformed Dragon Age, beating them at the finish line at the last minute. Last year, the Veilguard ended up with 87 pre-orders in these same stores. However, Ghost of Yotei is still quite a bit behind Star Wars Outlaws, which is not a good place for them to be. Star Wars Outlaws in these same stores ended up with 119 pre-orders, and they ended up selling only around 1 million copies in its first month or so. That being said, if not for the pre-order cancellations, Ghost of Yotei would have ended up a little ahead of Outlaws, meaning that it appears it was already a bit of a tepid release. People weren't flocking to it even before the Charlie Kirk controversy. Meanwhile, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 ended up with 229 copies pre-ordered in these same stores by the time that game came out, and it ended up selling a couple million copies in its first few days, which coincidentally is roughly the same sort of performance that was seen from Ghost of Tsushima when that game released. They sold 2.5 million copies in its first few days, and I doubt that we will hear those same sorts of numbers from Yotei. It's hard to say for sure, of course, because it's always possible that these stores that I'm able to track data from are an outlier, and Ghost of Yotei is a particularly difficult game to predict because Japanese sales will definitely be strong, and Ghost of Tsushima was a very well-loved game by a lot of gamers out there, so a lot of people might be able to just shrug off all the controversies and just go get it because they really loved the original. To top it off, as I showed at the beginning of this video, the bots and the shills are coming out hard to promote Ghost of Yotei. I mean, look at the Metacritic score for this game. The journalists really want it to sell. They have over 100 people who reviewed this game on Metacritic, even though the average AAA game, like Borderlands 4 for example, gets somewhere between 60 and 80 reviewers on the site. Clearly, Sony put out the bat signal and called for aid. The shilling is in full effect, and there is positive momentum in the last week here for Ghost of Yotei. If I had to make a prediction though, I would guess that we will hear an announcement in the first day or so that Ghost of Yotei had hit 1 million copies sold, and a week or two after that, we will likely hear that they crossed 2 million. I think it's trending higher this past week to the point that it appears that it will do better than Star Wars Outlaws, which only sold 1 million in its first month after release. But I would be very surprised if Ghost of Yotei came anywhere near the sales numbers of Tsushima, where they sold around 4 million copies in its first month. And if that's the case, if Ghost of Yotei doesn't come anywhere near Tsushima, then this is an indictment of everything Sucker Punch has done with this game, because often, with a new, successful franchise like this, the sequel to the first game ends up outselling their predecessor by a significant margin. But I'm going to leave it there. What do you make of these numbers? Drop your predictions for Ghost of Yotei along with your mockery of it into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.